So let's go over polyatomic ions. These are the ones that you're frequently going to see. This is not an all-inclusive list because sometimes professors or teachers will give you more. If I'm missing some, please let me know in the comments and I'll make an extra video with the ones that I'm missing. But again, these are going to be the ones that you'll mainly see in Intro Chem or Chem 1. So let's begin. So the first list is going to be acetate, C2H3O2 minus, azide N3 minus, carbonate CO3 2 minus, chlorate ClO3 minus, chlorite ClO2 minus, chromate CrO4 2 minus, cyanide Cn minus, dichromate Cr2O7 2 minus, dihydrogen phosphate H2PO4 minus, bicarbonate HCO3 minus, hydrogen phosphate HPO4 2 minus, bisulfate HCSO4 minus, let me say that again, HSO4 minus, hydroxide OH minus, and let's do the next list, hypochlorite ClO minus, nitrate NO3 minus, nitrite NO2 minus, oxalate C2O4 minus, perchlorate ClO4 minus, permanganate MnO4 minus, peroxide O2 2 minus, phosphate PO4 3 minus, phosphite PO3 3 minus, sulfate SO4 2 minus, sulfite SO3 2 minus, and thiocyanate SCN minus. So now let's go over the tricks that I have for you. The first trick that I'm going to teach you is that if something ends in 8, usually it's going to be more. So if you're on an exam and you're between chlorate and chloride, and you're like, which one is the 3 and which one is the 2? Usually the one that ends with ATE is going to be the larger one. So for example, chlorate is 3, chlorite is 2. So usually, I'm not saying this is 100% of the time. I'm just saying usually, if it's going to be 8, it's going to be bigger. And if it's 8, it's going to be smaller, usually. So that'll help your odds on the exam. Something else that you can see, for example, again, another example of what I just told you is nitrate, NO3, nitrite is going to be NO2, okay? Now, another thing I want you to notice when you're talking about the chlorates, bouncing back. So notice that chlorate is ClO3 minus, chlorite is ClO2 minus. So it makes sense that when you say hypo, which is in this case, you have hypo, that means it's going to be even less. Hypo means less, right? It's lower. And so it's going to be ClO minus. You only have 1. I mean, you usually don't write the ones in chemistry. That's why it's going to be ClO minus. Okay, just a connection for you to make there. Okay, something else that you can see with charge-wise. Let's go over phosphate, dihydrogen phosphate. So if you look, again, I told you as before, phosphate is usually going to be more, which is why you have PO4 3 minus. Phosphite, again, is PO3 3 minus. Notice at the top that you have the same 3 minus. So sometimes students will miss questions because of that. But now this is something I want you to notice. When you have hydrogen, remember hydrogen, again, when you talk about protons, which is H plus, for those of you that haven't learned that yet, that's positive, okay? So if I take in the case, for example, here, phosphate, then if I go to dihydrogen phosphate, I'm adding a positive 2 because I'm adding 2 protons. That 3 minus charge that you have here is going to be just a minus because, again, you have 2 protons that you're adding. You have 2 positive hydrogens you're adding. So it's going to be 3 minus plus 2, okay, a little algebra for you. And so you're going to still have a negative 1, okay? So again, another way of saying that is if you have negative 3 and you add 2, you're going to have negative 1. So again, you have your H2, you have 2 positive protons, which is going to be 1 plus and 1 plus, so that's positive 2. And you have your negative 3, again, it's going to be your negative 1. So just something I wish I kind of knew when I was studying this. Now, something else that you need to keep in mind is when you see a cyano group or cyan, that means that you're going to have this CN. And again, you have in the thiocyanate, you have that cyan, which is going to be your CN. Now, something else that you need to know is if you ever see thio, that's going to be because you have a sulfur in it. Okay? So if you ever see thio, that's referring to sulfur. Okay. Now, for sulfate and sulfite, I'm going to go by my same rule. I have my 8. Again, this is going to be 4. I have my ite. Okay? It's going to be 3 again. 8 is because it's bigger, and ite is because it's less. And again, you still have a notice, and be careful, you still have a 2- charge. Okay? Again, sorry for bouncing back, y'all, but it just came to my head. So we already talked about the dihydrogen phosphate, that you added your 2 protons, which is why your charge changed. For hydrogen phosphate, you're only adding 1 proton, which is why it's going to be 2-. You have 3- plus 1, so again, it's going to be 2-. Okay. Now, again, for bisulfate, you're going by the same principle, okay? For bisulfate, you have HSO4-. Okay? So sulfate is SO4 2-. If you're adding a hydrogen, a positive charge, again, that's why that 2- becomes a -1, which is just going to be minus. Okay? So these are some of the tricks that you need to look for. Something else that I didn't notice that I didn't talk about. So I talked about chlorate, chlorite, hypochlorite, okay? For perchlorate, you're adding an oxygen. You're adding. Per is add, okay? So that's why it becomes ClO4-, okay? Now, for the weird ones, it's just something that you kind of have to memorize, like the acetate, the azide, the carbonate, the chromate, the dichromate, oxalate, permanganate, peroxide. But in general, the hydroxide, those are my tips and tricks for memorizing all of those. Again, if you enjoyed this video, it takes time to create this content. So please follow, like, share, and again, thank you for watching. Try to watch this video as many times as possible because it's going to help you be able to memorize the polyatomic ions, and again, share it. And so thanks again.